Hey, it's your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. Zooming in on a very interesting and important topic that I think most of you will find quite relevant. And this is a request of a viewer, and I apologize, it's taken me about a week to respond to your request. So thank you for bearing with me and having patience. We're going to be zooming in on the topic of the female psychopath relationship, and then that of parent alienation syndrome, known as a PAS, and how this dynamic relates between the mother and the child figure, specifically where the mother is essentially that of a female psychopath, and then the daughter in that relationship is experiencing family alienation syndrome. And really how that is created, how that is set up, and really looking at what we can do to present a solution or to resolve that. So very briefly, looking at the female psychopath traits. If we look on the DSM-5R, we have the personality disorders, which are termed the cluster B. When we look at, generally the narcissist, that is typified by an inflated self-interest, self-centeredness, coupled with a lack of empathy. When we get into the realm of the female psychopath, we're essentially going into a higher elevated personality disorder, typified strictly by really a lack of conscience. One of the main differentiating qualities of a narcissist and a female psychopath is typified by the fact that the psychopath, psychopathy, within that individual, that personality disorder, they lack a sense of conscience. So literally it is a person without a conscience, not with a little bit of conscience. It is actually no conscience. They have a very high impulsivity rate, very promiscuous, very immoral behavior, deviant, prone to criminal behavior, criminal activity, juvenile delinquency. And really, when we talk about having no conscience, really there's no sense of right or wrong in that personality makeup. And this is evidenced by a physiological inactivity in the paralimbic system, which is the emotional processing center of the human mind, the human brain, if you will. And this reduced activity, as well as showing really a very lack of activity in certain integration centers between language, meaning, and behavior, that we see a very pronounced difference. So no morality, meaning they really do not feel restricted by a sense of right or wrong, and whether it's going to hurt somebody or not. So the psychopath's ability to really hurt and exploit others is on a really much higher level than we see in the narcissist. So the degree of devastation, the degree of emotional destruction and hurt and physical abuse of property is amplified, is tenfold that of really what we see in the narcissist dynamic. So really, if we're looking at, as this viewer had requested, the experience of a female psychopathic parent who oftentimes is extremely manipulative, extremely controlling, uses a tremendous amount of gaslighting, cognitive dissonance, and brainwashing to manipulate and control, to the point where really the victim in that experience experiences a profound sense of depersonalization and really what is family estrangement. And so really what oftentimes is created in that family dynamic within this person, this viewer who had inquired, is what is known essentially as parent alienation syndrome. It's not a hard and fast diagnosis. It's really a situation, but it's essentially where the parent then is targeted for all sorts of other aggressive and alienating behavior. So really it's a profound experience of complete communication breakdown within that parent and within that child. So parent alienation syndrome is not recognized as a disorder really by medical or legal communities. But it was a term that was coined by Richard Gardner in the 1980s. And it basically refers to a disorder in a child who belittles and insults one parent really without justification. So it's really a responsiveness of that child to that parent, and they can't really assess, for one point or another, but why is that child basically responding so negatively to this one parent? And it oftentimes confuses or confounds the parent. And this sort of syndrome or situation can exist with a regular, quote unquote, normal, healthy parent who has, been a healthy, nurturing, loving caregiver. Or in this specific viewer situation, they're inquiring about how this coexists with a family, female psychopath caregiver in that mother figure. So real quick into the parent alienating syndrome. The child, belittles and insults the parent without justification. It's generally due to a combination of factors, including indoctrination by another parent, or exclusively as part of a child custody dispute and the child's own attempts to denigrate the parent-child. So the child might, want to insult and kind of like lash out and degrade the parent, if there's been a lot of conflict in the parenting. So they're basically going to lash out and try to find fault with them. And basically, what the child feels essentially estranged in their own family, where basically the estranged child feels like they're no longer on friendly terms or part of that social group or that family group. So they feel, in essence, alienated, disaffected by their family. So, the child will, in essence, act that out. So it's a mirroring back of the lack of presence that parent has. So the child is reacting to that female narcissistic parent. So it's an equaling. It's essentially an emotional congruency then. So the female psychopathic parent is not able to be there in a healthy manner. Remember, the psychopath is completely lacking in empathy, lacking completely in healthy nurturing, mirroring, and their communication is generally impacted as well. So the female child in this example who is alienating their parent is responding. It's like trying to cut them off. It's trying to cut off the relationship. It's so toxic. It's so not based in reality and truth and empowerment that the child is essentially reacting in like energy. So what we hear is family estrangement, and I'm going to go into that in another video so it doesn't run on too long. But realize that this estrangement, this sort of severing of the family bond is in reaction to a personality disordered individual. And realize that then the goal and the solution, which I really emphasize and stress here in this channel, is that the child in the situation who is a psychopathic parent, really needs to realize that they need to come to terms with their own identity, their own autonomy, their own individual empowerment, and start to take self-responsibility. And essentially, it's going to require a lot of tools, a certain amount of work, because essentially one has to provide for themselves all that their family had denied in them. Peace and harmony with you here today. I hope these videos help. Please do share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussions, and support.